Hi, welcome back to my channel, to the Witchy Reader. So I'm going to be talking about The Realm of Monsters, my most recent published book. So as you can, my writing vlog, I haven't uploaded yet, but it's done editing, so I'm going to be uploading it probably after I film this. Um, and so that will be out first. And in that, if you watch it, you can see that I finished writing The Vampire's Creation, which is a sequel to The Realm of Monsters. So yay, it's done. I plan to get it out June 10th. So be looking for that. It'll be going out in Pride Month because there's very much lots of LGBTQIA plus representation. The MC is Calista Dagon. She is pansexual. Her love interest Roxanne is bisexual. Jeremy is also bisexual, which you find out at the end of this book when, because his love interest throughout is his best friend is Isabella. But you find out he's bisexual when you meet Josiah, who is gay and is mentioned to be one of to be in Josiah, Jeremy's ex. So and then who else? There's Henry and Eric, who are both Arrow A's. Then there's PC Stratos and Alice, who are both gay. Um, and then in book two, you meet Josiah's husband, who is gay, and then you meet Rain, who ends up becoming a big part in book two, and they are non-binary. So lots of LGBTQI plus representation. I think there's more people in the community than straight people, because there's Frederick, Athena, and Isabella. I think they're the only straight characters. Well, I guess if you include the villains, which I don't usually include the villains when I talk about this. But if you include the villains, then Caleb, Donna, and Ayana are also straight. But yeah. But this is the Vampire's Creation. I will show a picture of. Did I say Vampire's Creation? I meant the Realm of Monsters. I will show the cover of the Vampire's Creation here, so you can see what it looks like. Because it is not yet published, obviously, but it's going to be June 10th. I'm so excited. You should be too. I will make sure in this video to link the Realm of Monsters. But in this video, what I'm going to be doing. So if you've been paying attention, every Saturday I've been doing these live videos of author interviews where I interview other indie authors, and I have 20 questions that I ask every indie author, and I thought it would be fun, why not, to do my own video where I answer the questions I came up with for these author interviews with my current ongoing series, the Realm of Monsters Trilogy. Because why not? That way I can promote the Realm of Monsters a little bit, and you guys can all have a new series you want to read. I've actually had a new review for the Realm of Monsters recently. I will put it up here. And I also have had a the person that did this review, made my very first fan art for the Realm of Monsters. Fan art of the MC Calista. So I'll also put that up here so you guys can see the fan art that she made me, which means a lot because I never had anyone make fan art of one of my characters from one of my books, and it's just a very exciting milestone to achieve. But I figured we should get into it, and I can talk about the Realm of Monsters. And I also I did a video recently of reading a snippet of my book. So if you guys want another one of that, comment below. I would love to do another video where I read a snippet. Maybe I'll read a snippet of The Vampire's Creation next time when it's published and I can get a copy of that book. So question number one is, what's your WIP about? If it's a sequel, you can talk about the overall story, including previous books. So the Realm of Monsters is about Calista Dagon. She is 1,000 years old. She's a vampire, and her past comes back to haunt her when her enemy and past tormentor shows up. The monster realm's also something's going on there that they don't know yet. But Calista, along with a group of monsters who go with her, go back to her home in Athens, Greece. There's a lot of Greek mythology, just to let you know, and Greek history. And she has to try to stop Caleb, figure out what his plan is, and what his plan for her is. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of fighting, a lot of there's found family, there's a lot of action, a lot of trauma because she's very traumatic. She has a traumatic past. So yeah. Number two, what is your MC like? Kalista is, well, she's very dramatic. She's very hard and cold, but it's all on the surface. Deep down, she does care. She's kind of a morally gray character. Like, she does kind of, in this series, save her humanity and monster kind and the monster realm, but she's kind of mostly doing it for revenge on Caleb and Thana. So, she does kind of become a hero, but that's all because she wanted revenge. So, um, but she's a warrior and a fighter, and she is very harsh and can seem very mean. But like I said, that's all surface. Deep down, she has a big heart and she cares. She just doesn't like to show it because she's been hurt a lot. Question three: what are your other important characters like? I have a lot of important characters. There's Isabella, who is she kind of seems a little mean at first as well, but she's not mean. She's just pushy and kind of a little bossy, but she cares as well. Then there's Jeremy, who is very sweet and very supportive. There's Henry, who is actually autistic, um, and uh, he's a genius. So he does a lot. So he's very smart. And then there's Eric, who kind of wants to know everything. I wouldn't call him a know-it-all because it's not like he's Henry level genius, but he's a journalist and he tries to get into everyone's business, kind of. He's always looking for the next big story. Then there's Josiah. You meet at the end of book one, but becomes a book part in book two. He's And then there's Rain, who's introduced in book two and a friend of Josiah's. Um, and then there's so many characters. Then there's Roxanne, who's very bubbly, sweet, kind, happy, optimistic. Then there's Athena, the goddess of wisdom and battle strategy. And you guys can imagine how she is. Then there's Frederick, who's kind of I was gonna say off, but that's more PC's Tatos. That seems more on the off side. Um, but yeah. So like I said, lots of characters to delve into. Um, question four: if your MC has a love interest, what is their dynamic like? Roxanne is her love interest, and Roxanne kind of gets an immediate attraction and interest to Kalista, but Kalista kind of just writes her off. Kalista does not want to fall in love again. She does not want to care about her, but of course she does end up caring about her. So she's kind of awful to her at first, but Roxanne doesn't believe it for 1 second. Like she can tell that there's something deeper in her, and so she gets wrapped up in all of this, trying to help Kalista, who does not want her help. Um, so it's all kind of one-sided. Kalista's very annoyed with Roxanne, and she gets even more annoyed with her. Um, when she starts developing feelings for her. At the end of book two, she was kind of awful to Roxanne, but that's because she is going through something very traumatic and she goes back to her old ways of pushing everyone away because her and Roxanne had started to get close and it looked like they could have gotten together at this book, but then things happen and she's not there yet. She needs a lot of healing, a lot of time for herself before she's ready for a relationship. And so yeah, their dynamic is very odd but interesting. Question number five is who, despite the love interest, is closest to your MC? What is their dynamic like? Probably Isabella and Henry, but then you find out how close Rain and Calista is. Calista's also was close to Athena, Frederick, and Apici's Tatos in the past. Um, but I say Isabella and Henry are the ones she's closest to. Um, their grandmother, who's dead now, was Kalisa's best friend. She kind of helped save Kalisa's life. I mean, Kalisa saved her own life, but then Marissa helped keep her alive. If I'm trying to say this without being too spoilery, but yeah, and they became very close and best friends. And she basically watched Isabella and Henry's mother Astoria grow up, and then she also watched Isabella and Henry grow up, and they are basically family. And they all care about each other very much. Isabella and Henry are always like there for Khalees. They're ready to help her for whatever she needs, and Khalees is always very protective of the two of them. So, uh, question 6 is, what's your world like? Is it similar to our world? Is it different? How so? So this is the monster realm, but you also get to see the mortal realm. You mostly see Athens, Greece, but at the beginning you do get to see America a little bit when Roxanne leaves the mortal realm to move to the monster realm. Because even though she's a werewolf, she did live in the mortal. She did grow up in the mortal realm. She just had to hide being a werewolf, which she didn't have to when she moved to the monster realm. And you do see the mortal realm, but it's mostly Athens that you see. Um, and you see how different the monster realm is pretty early on. As soon as Roxanne, when I started the world building, and you really see how the monster realm is in chapter 2 when Roxanne first moves there, or I think it's chapter 2. It's one of the very first chapters. Um, when Roxanne first goes there, and you see it from Roxanne's point of view, 'cause she's never been to the monster realm before, and she sees the monster realm. So you're introduced to it through her eyes, her point of view, someone who has never been there herself. And I really liked doing it that way, you so that you can see it the same way Roxanne is seeing it. And it's very different. They don't live in houses; they live in castles, medieval castles. Um, and there are carriages like the old times, because when the monster was created, it was back with like carriages and castles and stuff like that. And but the carriages aren't driven by horses. There aren't even wheels. They are magical, and they float down the streets. Like they hover over a few inches off the road, and there's literal magic you can see in the air. And yeah, so magic is all around you, quite literally. Foods and drinks are also very. There's a scene where Jeremy and Isabella take Roxanne to dinner pretty early on, and the stuff a lot of monsters eat and drink are very different. That was a hard chapter to write, trying to come up with these different types of foods, but it was fun nonetheless. Question 7. If you write fantasy, what's your magic system? There's a bunch of different monsters, and they all have their own type of abilities. Obviously, they're all very different. And like I said, the monster realm is very different. There's magic in the air, and uh, I also kind of get a little bit into how a couple creatures were created. You find out how vampires were created. You also find out how banshees were created. That's what Brain is. Um, and you get to see, and like for witches and warlocks, they all have their own specialty when it comes to magic. Spell casting, potion making. There's others and stuff. Um, Jeremy, Isabella more does a little bit everything. But it's mostly spellcasting with Isabella. With Jeremy, he's best with healing potions. Um, so yeah. You also have a hybrid. Josiah is a hybrid of a banshee and a merman, and Rain is actually the last living banshee that can use witchcraft. Um, it's this whole thing. You'll learn more about that in book 2. Um, question number 8. Do you like to write major plot twists? Uh, yeah, I'd say so. I like to add whenever I do have a major plot twist in mind, or if it doesn't come to me until later on, I will go back in editing and make sure to add little details or foreshadowing moments, so that it's not like a complete shock. Like it, so that if you might not notice it on your first read, but if you go back to reread it, you'll be like, oh my gosh, this actually makes sense now. So yeah. I like to add little foreshadowing moments if I can. Um, Question 9: What tropes are in your WIP? Let me think. What tropes? Morally Gray MC, I think, is a trope. Um, there's Friends to Lovers with Jeremy and Isabella. There's Found Families, definitely a big trope. There's wait, that's a theme. Never mind. Trying to think of more tropes. I can't think of them off the top of my head. Um, there's MC with a tragic backstory. That's, I'm sure, a trope. So yeah. Um, Question 10: What themes are in your WP? The biggest theme, which is kind of touched upon pretty early on, is the theme of finding a sense of belonging and trying to find who you are and find out where you belong in such an uncertain world and stuff. Um, Another theme that I get into is that maybe humans are the real monsters and not these actual monsters, which is actually touched upon more in book two than book one, I think. Um, so yeah. Question 11: What was your inspiration for your WIP? Well, I promote this series by saying Monster High meets Percy Jackson. Um, Monster High was definitely my original inspiration for it. But I always knew I wanted some Greek mythology in it, and when I finally read Percy Jackson, so that helped. Because fun fact, I actually started this series. This is actually the first real series I started working on when I was in high school. But I lost my journal that I was writing in because I didn't have a laptop back then, and I because I lost it. But I still remember the main idea, and so finally recreated it, and it's a lot, a lot different than how I originally put it in from what I remember from what I wrote. Um, but it's better now. Obviously, my writing style and stuff is better, so the story grew. But yeah, my phone turned off. Um, what question are we on? We're on question 12. Are you a plotter, pantser, or somewhere in between? If your WP is a part of a series, how much do you have mapped out for it? I'm in between. I plot the general idea, and sometimes if I come up with something I want to add in it, I'll make sure to write it down. I'll have the big plot points written down on my phone, but um but I'll show you that. I a lot of times, a lot of my best ideas come in the spur of the moment. So I don't write every little thing like this chapter will be about this, this chapter will be about this. I know what I want to happen. It's just I a lot of times don't know the how it's gonna happen. Um, and I have book three mapped out for like the major things. But I don't think I have many like little details I want. If I come up with something that I know I want to happen, I will write it down. But yeah. Question 13. Who's your favorite character to write in your WIP? If it's your MC, then who's your second? My favorite character probably is Kalista because she's just so complex and so interesting and so fun, and she's pretty awesome. But after her, I'm gonna say Henry. I absolutely love him. He's such a sweetheart, such a pure being, and he he's just he's intelligent and he's sweet, and he really cares, and he tries his best with what he has, and he even though he has autism, he doesn't let it define him. He is who he is, and he's proud of every part of it. And yeah. Question that was 13, right? Yeah. So 14. What's the dynamic like between your MC and villain? If it's not fantasy, then the main character toward your MC. Uh, well, it is fantasy, obviously, and technically there's three villains. Caleb is the main villain, but Ayana and Donna are introduced later on, and they do become pretty big antagonists as well. But Kalista has a bad past with Caleb and Donna, mostly Caleb because he was her main tormentor, but Donna also played a part in some of her worst torment. So she hates them both a lot. She wants revenge on them. She wants to murder them pretty badly. Um, she wants to finally end this, to finally be free, to finally stop having to run and hide, be afraid that her past is gonna come and find her. She just wants it to be over, and it's very intense, her relationship with them both, because of everything they put her through. You hear bits and pieces of it in book one, but in book two, Khaleesi's gonna break your heart. Okay, she goes through some literal hell. There's a lot of flashback chapters, so you really get a sense of who she was and how she became who she is, and you get to see what Caleb and Thana did to her, and before she was back when she was a human, and after she first transitioned into a vampire. So just beware, she goes through a lot in book two, and she goes through a lot in book three too. She will. I have plans for her in book three. Um, question 15. Without being too spoilery, what was your favorite scene to write in your WIP so far? Huh. What was my favorite scene to write? I don't know. There are so many. I loved writing the final battle near the end. I love the face off Kalista finally has with Caleb, and because at the end of the book she's like, you can tell she's gonna take a dark turn when book three starts. Like she's very numb, very in a dark path. Let's just say that. And I really like the face off she has with Caleb. And then is there what else? I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head. But I really enjoyed writing that. So question 16: if you're writing a series, do you like ending on a cliffhanger? On cliffhangers, do you plan to end on a cliffhanger in your current WIP? Um, I love writing cliffhangers. I write pretty fast, so I get my books out pretty fast. So readers usually don't have to wait too long. Like this book, I plan to get out June 10th, and the first book came out October 31st. So, um, but I love writing ending on cliffhangers, chapter cliffhangers, and book cliffhangers, except for the final book in the series, obviously. But usually up until them, sometimes they're more on the minor side, like a little shock thing here, finding something out. But sometimes they are pretty big cliffhangers as well. Um, and yes, book two does end up in a cliffhanger. Um, I don't think it's like a big cliffhanger, but it's not a small one either. It's more of a like what's gonna happen now, confusing like what does this mean for content for going on, and yeah. Question 17. What's the scene you want to write in your WIP that you're excited for that you haven't gotten to yet? Well, I finished my first draft, so I've written it all. But there are scenes I am excited for book three. So there's that. There's this scene I'm excited for Calista and Roxanne. I'm excited for a few things early in the book with Calista's dark path. Um, and I'm excited for Isabella and Ayana's face off, which will eventually happen. So yeah, there's a few things I'm excited for book three. Um, Question 18. What's your favorite thing to write about? A certain type of scene, like fight scenes or romantic scenes and so on. Fight scenes are actually one of my favorite things. I also love like found family moments, like sweet moments between people who aren't blood or anything, but they are family. With Isabella, Calista, and Henry, obviously. Henry and Isabella are siblings, but they are actually adopted. Henry is adopted, Isabella's not. So they aren't blood either, but they are family. And Calista's family as well, even though none of them share blood, they are family through and through. And I love their dynamic together. Um, but I also love writing fight scenes. I don't know if that's a popular or unpopular opinion, but I absolutely love action, fighting, epic battles. They're so much fun, and I just enjoy watching them, reading them, and writing them. So yeah. Question 19. What do you love most about WP and the series overall? I mean, I love the characters and their relationships. I love them. I love the theme of the like sense of belonging, finding out who you are. There's just a lot I love. I love the monsters and the Greek mythology and the magic. I just love a lot of it. Question 20. This is the final question. What are you most excited for readers to read once it's published? I'm excited for them to find out uh, more about Kalista. Like it's her traumatic past is hinted in book one, but like I said, you really dive into her past in book two and finding out who she was as a human and how she is who she is now. You get to see the torment she endured and what happened to her when she was human and after she first became a vampire and how she got away and how she survived, how she's a survivor through and through, a fighter, and you get a more understanding of her character and why she is the way she is and why she is so reserved and pushes people away and afraid to open her heart because she has been burned way too many times, and you really get a sense of who she is and what she's been through way more in book two than book one. So people who like Kalista might as well like be ready to be heartbroken by her character in book two because what she has gone through and the book leaves off to show that she is going down a dark path because of her face off with Caleb and the fact that Thana is still out there, like she doesn't know where he is. It's all like putting so much on her, and she's like she doesn't know how to feel. She doesn't know what to do next because it seems like she's free and she should be, but she doesn't feel like it. She's like, I'm trying to explain this without being too spoilery, but yeah. So you get a real sense of her character and what she's been through and who she is and everything she survived and fought for, and it's very touching and heartbreaking, and I'm just very excited for people, especially for fans of Kalista, to see that side of her and see everything she's been through and to see how much of a fighter, how much of a survivor she truly is. Um, but yeah, so I really want readers to see more about Kalista because it this book two is very much dives into Kalista and her past and everything about her. So yeah, that is what I hope for readers to see and what I'm excited for readers to see. Um, So that is all. That was question 20, last question. So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and comment. If you plan to read this series, if you want to, I hope you do. I hope this makes you want to check it out. I plan to put the link for book one in the description. So thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys below in the comments. Until next time.